Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sorry I am late, y'all. I was having some technical difficulties, and so I had to make sure that I could get on, that I am live, live, live. I am streaming this morning, Friday, September 12th. I'm streaming from LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So if you are here, hello. I am super excited about this topic. I am doing a 30-day series. And with this series, I am going to be talking all about systems and understanding systemic thinking, systemic work on teams. And so this is the kickoff of day one. I got my notes right here. I am ready because I want to make sure that I hit all points. But this series is 30 days of systems that make teams work. And today we are going to be discussing the hidden factor that makes or breaks every team. And so today I'm going to be doing some teaching. This particular session or live is about just kind of laying the foundation so that you understand, so that you are just really able to understand just the foundation of the systems and what systemic thinking is. I'm going to share with you some very important details. And so, if you are here, you are in for a freaking treat because you know your girl likes to teach. And so, today I am teaching, teaching, teaching. Okay. So, if you are here, comment in the chat. Let me know you here. Say hello, hello, hello. We'd love to know who is here. But let's dive in. Let's dive in. So I want you all to think about this. So you hire someone that is incredible. So if you are somebody who is a leader and or a hiring manager and you hire, you understand this. Even if you don't hire, you understand when somebody new comes onto your team. And so you hire someone who's incredible, they're smart, they're driven, and maybe they might even be like the best hire that you've seen come through or the best hire you personally hired. And on paper, this person is a rock star. And, you know, these people are smart, they're motivated, and they have a strong leader, but even with the strong leader and the motivated employees, somehow, some way, the team starts to fail, right? So you've hired somebody, they're working, and you hire all these people, and they're amazing, but then somehow, some way, people are still failing, right? If you've ever had this experience, type it in chat. Say me, 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 me. That's me. Well, contrary to popular belief, what I want you to know, it's not because of bad people, and it's not because people aren't motivated enough that the teams fail. It's because there's something invisible happening underneath the surface that nobody really talks about. And when you get this right, as I'm talking about the foundation of teams, you are going to see how everything is literally going to change for you and for your team. So again, today is day one of my series, 30 Days of Systems That Makes Teams Work. And I am revealing this hidden factor that makes or breaks every team. So I want to start by just sharing a personal story, something that as a team coach, I have experienced. So I was working with this team, it was a marketing team, and the employees were talented. Okay. They were talented. They knew everything to do. They knew the organization like the front and back of their hands. And everyone was truly like just rock stars in their game. Right. And although they were rock stars, although they were so highly qualified, there was a lot of internal fighting and competition. So people were kind of like in other people's lane. People were talking about one another. People weren't working well together. There were cliques starting to come up and form. And so there was just a lot of like messiness really truly happening on this team that was really getting in the way, right? And The other part of it is like, not only was this a really talented team, but this team was also stuck in the status quo. And y'all know the status quo. This is how we do things. This is how we used to do things. This is how things should be. This how things ought to be. And it's like that narrative that's always playing that keeps them stuck in the places that they are in now. And we know places that have, or organizations that have gotten stuck and then they die. Things like Radio Shack, Blockbuster, for example, like they die because they get stuck in the status quo and they think, oh, I already know this. I know everything the front and back of my hand, so I'm good, right? And work is getting done. Now, as painful as it might be, the work is still getting done. But this internal fighting, it's messing, like it's getting in the way. It's creating a little bit of some barriers. It's creating some roadblocks in the system. And things are just not all what it is supposed to be. So on paper, looks good. Behind the scenes, under the surface, under the rug, it's not so much, right? So drop a yes in the comments if you've ever seen this happen. Drop a yes, drop a yes, drop a yes. For those that may be watching the recording, please drop the yes as well. Like, I want to hear, like, what have you ever experienced this type of team? Okay. So I want to go through some myths about teams that you believe needs to happen when you experience the type of team and you feel like these are some things that I need to do or some changes that I need to make in order to get the team back on track. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me make sure that I have this because this was what was getting in my way this morning. All right. Hopefully y'all can see that. If you can't see it, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. All right. Let me know if you can't see that. Okay. So here we go. So the first myth that we always hear is, let's hire better people. Have you heard this? Let's just hire some more people. We need some new talented individuals up in here. We need some new blood up in here. And so the team, the leader, they thinks that if they get someone new, it's either going to change the culture or it's going to make other people step up their game. I know I've experienced this multiple times. It's like this one person is going to be the saving grace to save the day, and they're just going to make everything so much better. So this is the first myth. Let's hire better people because we think, excuse me, we think this is going to change everything. We think that this is going to help with our messiness and our silos and people not working well together. The second myth, let's push harder. Let's get stronger leadership. Let's motivate more. Let's get incentives. And so we're just like, let's push, 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 right? When I say that, I think about when I'm on my Peloton and there's one trainer and she's always like, when like the road is getting the road is getting harder and she's like, we got to go, she's like, push, 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 right? But we're not, if we're not working for Peloton, we don't need to push people harder. We don't need to just say, let's just bring stronger leadership, let's crack the whip. Like, we don't need to do those type of things, right? But it's a myth. It's what we believe we have to do in order for things to be better. And the third thing, enforce accountability. So this is really the crack the whip, right? And so we're thinking like, I'm just going to enforce accountability. There are going to be harsher consequences. I'm going to be like a parental disciplinarian, right? You know what parents say. I'm a mom. Parents say, if you don't do this, you don't do X, you won't get Y, right? And so we think like this is the thing that we need to do in our organizations in order to get our teams back on track. But the reality is that none of these fixes anything. They are surface level solutions. And if you think about it, it's like slapping duct tape on a leaky pipe. It's not going to fix the leak. Nobody is going to, it's not going to change anything. This is what's going to happen. And the reality is that the real reason why teams fail is because of the system they are operating in. So this is the hidden factor, right? So let me say that again. The real reason that teams fail is because of the system that they're operating in. Okay. So let me just explain this a little bit more. Okay. So, y'all, I'm a sports mom, so this is always helpful for me. It's always helpful for me to talk in analogies of sports. So follow me. I'm going to try to explain as much as possible so that so that you get it. But I'm going to use a sports analogy. So, um, in 1992, so those of you who were alive in 1992, I might have a younger audience. I am definitely was born in 1992 and was alive in that year. And I don't know if y'all remember, I was young, but I remember, and my husband is just a sports fanatic. So even if we weren't born then, he will probably know about it, right? But in 1992, there was a US Olympic basketball team. Okay. What did they call them? The Dream Team. Right. And I know it's a lot of different teams, even in organizations like we're the Dream Team. Right. So they were formed, they were brought together. And many of you all may remember who was on this team. But for those who do not, the people that were on this team were Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone. Literally, this was the greatest lineup of basketball talent ever seen on a single roster. We still hear about these guys to this day. On paper, they were unbeatable. And the world expected them, watching this game, they expected them to dominate, and eventually they did. But eventually they did. Because what people don't know is that in their very first practices together, it was a mess. There was a lot of chaos. And the reason why was because every single player on this team, every single one of them was used to being the star. And we know that, like, just the mention of their name, we're like, oh, yeah, they're good. Oh, yes, yes, that one, yes. I mean, Jordan is still selling shoes to this day that causes a backup or being sold out because he was that freaking good. But because everybody felt that they were the star, everyone wanted the ball. And it's only one ball. My husband says this all the time with football and basketball. There's only one ball. But everyone wanted to be the leader. So in this case, the talent wasn't the problem. They all had the skill and they all had the talent that was absolutely necessary to play and win. But what was wrong was that it was a systems problem. Systems problem. And the reason why there was a system problem is because there was no clarity on the roles, there was no shared strategy yet. Too many stars, not enough structure. That's exactly what was happening. And even one reporter said it looked like a pickup game at the YMCA. Have y'all ever seen a pickup game at the YMCA? It's a hot mess, but I digress. Um, but there was a lot of individual knowledge. Of course, these guys knew the game, they knew the sport, and they understood the game, but they were not a team. They were not together as a team. But eventually, a turning point came, and they stopped playing an individual game. They stopped playing as individual superstars and they started trusting in a system. They started trusting a system. So that's when roles were clarified. Some people became the facilitators, um, others became the people that were going to score, others, blocks. Like they started trusting the system and they knew their role. And then they aligned around a shared purpose, which I always talk about. I say it's so important to be aligned on a shared purpose because we are a team. One win, we all win. One lose, we all lose, right? It's a shared game. So there has to be a shared purpose. The shared purpose is winning. And it wasn't about proving who is best, but coming together to truly win this game. And once that system clicked, they crushed every opponent by an average of over 40 points. Over 40 points. like killed the game. And I just want to have you notice that we're talking about the very same people on this dream team, but we're talking about trusting a system that would get them to win. And they were able to achieve the results they did because they trusted the system. So now I want to flip it, right? I want to flip it and give you a contrast to this, okay? A contrast. So in 2004 Olympics, the US again had a roster that was stacked with NBA talent. So LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson were three of the individuals that were on this team, but not like the 92 Dream Team. They didn't have a clear system at all. They didn't. Again, roles were confused. They didn't really have any chemistry, and their system was not built for them to succeed at all. So the result of this team was that they lost 3 games, and then they came home with only a bronze medal, y'all. Bronze. We talk about some of the best players in the world came home with bronze medal. Okay. The reason why is because they had a broken system. But contrast this 2004 Olympics team to another team who actually won gold. Drop it in the comments if you know who won gold in this year, 2004. Drop it in the comments. If you don't know, it was Argentina. Okay. So on paper, they had far less talent. It was no Michael Jordan, no Magic Johnson, no LeBron James. But what they did have was a system, a shared style of how they were going to play, clarity on roles. They trusted each other, and everyone knew exactly how they fit into the big picture. And because their system worked, they beat the US Dream Team of NBA superstars, superstars, and they took home the gold. So there was less talent, better system, so bigger and better success. That's what happens. And this is exactly what happens in business. Leaders think if they just hire the smartest, the most talented people, that the odds of succeeding is a no-brainer. But talent without systems is pure chaos, y'all. It's pure chaos. The 92 Dream Team only dominated when they trusted the system. And the 2004 Dream Team fell apart without a system. And Argentina, with less talent, won because their system worked. Again, same people, different system, totally different results. Okay. So, what do we mean by systems? What do we mean by systems? Because this is the blocker. As you can hear, it is the blocker of why teams do not work. Okay. So let's walk through it. Let's walk through it. Let's walk through it. Okay. I'm sharing my screen again. I want to walk through it. I want to show y'all what we mean by systems. Okay. So there are five ways of seeing systems, five ways of seeing systems. Okay. And when I say systems, I am not just talking about org charts. I'm not talking about the processes. I really want to give you this 5 lenses because once you see them, you're going to start noticing them everywhere. Okay. And so I'm going to walk you through a couple of individuals who are known to be really smart in the systems thinking world. And so I'm going to share those people with you. Okay. So the first person is Donella Meadows. Okay, you might know her. She's a scientist and a systems pioneer. She's the author of Thinking in Systems. It's one of the books that is like my go-to for such a long time because she really helps with talking about systems. And she was one of the most influential voices in systems thinking. Okay. She defined a system as 3 things: elements, connections, and purpose. So, 3 things that she said a system is made up of: elements, connections, and purpose. Okay. So, as you can see down here, let me see if I can do this. Down here, you have elements, people, you have elements. The elements are the people, the tools, the funding. These are the things that um, she says that you'll always see in a system, right? Elements could be things like the people, the tools, the resources, the funding, the everything that they need in order to make the system run. So, example is I want you to picture a startup. So, there's a startup, they've hired all of these smart, brilliant engineers. Okay. So, they have the best tools, they have the best resources, they have plenty of funding, and on paper, all the elements are there. So, they have all these elements, they're there. All of the elements they have there. Okay. But the way they communicate is a little messy. Okay. And what you'll see is when they are trying to communicate, there's just stuff going everywhere. People don't know who to talk to. People are like going around. There's just so much going on. People are like, okay, what are we supposed to be doing? Who should we listen to? There's a lot of stuff happening, right, in this system, right? Nobody knows who owns things. Half the team, the goal, the purpose, because purpose, so right here, connections, the connections is off. We see in the way they're communicating, connections are off. The purpose, like they are a startup company, they're a shipping company. So half of them, they believe, you know what? This is what we have to do. We have to ship fast. We have to go fast. Let's go fast. Let's go fast, right? The other half are like, no, let's ship perfect. Let's make sure the tape is on there right. Let's make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. It's packed according to weight and size, and the things in the inside of the box are just right. So they like the system, you can tell is just messy, right? So even though all the elements are strong, the connections and the purpose are broken. So connections and purpose are broken. If this is happening and you don't have all the elements working in concert with one another, the system is going to collapse. The system is not going to work. There's going to be some problems. Okay. So that's how Donella Meadows, she talks about systems. Now, the second person, Peter Senge. Some of you guys may know Peter Senge. He's an MIT professor and author of The Fifth Discipline. I know a lot of coaches, if you are in coaching or organizational development like myself, you will come across this book. You may read this book. I have this book. I've had this book for a while, even before I was like in OD. Just as a coach, I've had this book for a while. And he says something that blew my mind. He says that systems shape behavior more, more than individuals do. So he's not saying that the people are shaping behavior. He's saying the system shape behavior. Okay. So imagine this. Imagine there's a salesperson. This salesperson is collaborative and ethical at one company. So they're at one company, they're over here at one company, right over here, company A. They're over here. And in this company, sorry, I did not mean to stop sharing my screen, but for some reason it just got out. Okay, let me go back to it. All right. Sorry about that. So at one company, they are ethical, things are great, it's amazing. They're having fun. They're having a great time. So this is a person and they're happy. They are happy. It's a happy person over here. Okay. Now, at the other location, at the other organization that they go to, the feeling is different. Okay. So at this other company, the reward system only recognizes individual quotas, where over here it was collaborative and it was a team. Okay. So this person goes from here to here. They go over here to this new company, and there's a different way that the system works. So over here, where they're like, yes, happy go lucky, we're all a team, we're in it together. And then they move over here to company B, and it's like, oh no, your individual quotas, right? We're talking about things like commission, right? Sales, those type of organizations. We know them well. So because the system has changed, this person has started hoarding leads. They start cutting corners. They play a win to lose game. And because of that, what we notice, and this is what I want you all to notice, is that the person didn't change, the system changed. And so when the system changed, it shaped their behavior changed. You see how this works? So you go from one system to a new system, and the new system shapes the behavior that you're going to operate, the actions you're going to take, how you're going to be in this new system. Okay. So it's not individuals who are changing you, it's the system. Okay. So that's the second thing. System shape behavior. Okay. Now, third one, Ubuntu. I am because we are. This is an African philosophy of interconnectedness. Okay. Y'all don't be laughing at my drawing. I tried to do this. I was like, oh, I am not good at drawing anymore. I have to go back. And before I used to do all the things, and I got to go back and practice. But anyway, this Ubuntu said I am because we are. And in this, let me just make sure I'm keeping up with my notes. Okay. So in this, it is reminds us that it's all about the collective, always. Okay. So I want you to think about a basketball team where one star dominates the ball and racks up points but never passes. The team is going to lose despite their talent, right? So here we call this anti Ubuntu. Okay. And like, how can you win? Again, there's only one ball. So if one person hoards the ball all the time, they're not going to win as a team. Okay. This is the same thing that happens in business. In business, what it looks like is there's a voice dominating every meeting. The star shines, but the team loses, right? Somebody's talking, they're telling their ideas, but the team loses. Okay. Now, Ubuntu, on the other hand, flips it. Okay. And in Ubuntu, success is shared, wins are collective. So everybody comes together. We're like, we're in this together, right? What's the warrior slogan? I don't know why it's leaving my mind right now. Um, something about team. But the way they look at it is like we are all collectively a team, okay? So when you have anti-Ubuntu and that type of system, that's not going to get you far. But in a thriving system, success isn't about the start, it's about the team. Okay. A win is shared. And that is the difference between this is a fragile system. This system is gonna break. This one, they're thriving. They're thriving here. They are thriving here. Okay. So that's Ubuntu. Okay. Almost to the end. Here's the fourth one. Adrienne Marie Brown. So she talks about, she's the author of Emergent Strategy. Again, phenomenal author. I love her so much. And she says that teaches the system should be adaptive, emergent, and alive, just like nature. So things should be adaptive, emergent, alive, right? I just realized I got her name on here incorrect. And I do not want to have that on here. Okay. So Adrienne Marie Brown, she says that I don't know, y'all. I don't know why this keeps cutting off. Okay. So she says that a system should be adaptive, emergent, and alive. And she says that if we aren't doing this, things could break down. Okay. So, for an example, during the pandemic, some companies tried to force every old office rule into remote work. I remember that. And there was like long meetings, the reporting, like you had to report and you had to do all these things the same way as if you were in the office. There were all these outdated rituals that were happening that wasn't working for people. And there was just like a breakdown, right? So this is a rigid system, right? This is a box that's breaking down. They want to keep everything in the box the same. They want to keep everything the same. We're going to say the same, but things are breaking down. And then over here in the tree, you have such a different system, right? You have such a different system where things are adapting, people are growing, people are becoming new. And you have things like stand-ups that started to be different. You had async updates, right? We didn't need to have a meeting. We could do asynchronously, right? We could use a project management tool, something like that, right? We had different rituals, like our rituals started to be different. These are the type of systems that adapted to the new environment and said we have to be emergent and we have to see how things come to be, and this will keep us alive as a system. Okay. So instead of breaking like this rigid system will, they're going to bend, right? They're going to bend. They're going to do, lean back, and they're going to be able to do the thing, right? They're going to stay alive. Okay. And then the last one is Sherry Mitchell. Sherry Mitchell is an Indigenous teacher and an activist, and she authored the book Sacred Instructions. And she teaches that every decision creates either harmony or harm. And those ripples will flow through the entire system. So, as an example, there's a manager who ignores a junior employee in a meeting, and that may seem small. That may seem small because it's a junior employee, and some people don't put respect on a junior employee's name. But the ripple effect of that is that the employee is going to shut down and other people are going to notice and they are probably going to shut down too. Like, oh, I better not say that. I better not be like that person, or I'm going to get cut off, or I'm going to get ignored too. But if we flip it and a leader amplifies and notices a quiet voice, like, hey, Tashina, I noticed that you didn't talk, or hey, I noticed that, you probably have an idea, I want to invite your voice into the room, into the space. Now, suddenly, the trust is growing, ideas are flowing, the culture starts to be strengthened. And that one small choice that the manager took now creates a ripple effect across the entire system. So now people are more prone to like, okay, I want to be a part of this system. Okay. So here's the lesson. Systems aren't just org charts. They are how people connect. They are how behavior gets shaped and how trust is built. The way we also adapt, and then every single choice that ripples through the entire system, it creates that environment that we're looking for. And that's why I call systems the hidden factor that makes or breaks every team. If your system is not right underneath the surface, baby, you can forget about it. There is going to be some problems. There's going to be something that's not going to go right for you. Okay. So let's get really practical. Okay. And I really want to get practical and I want to talk about and this is just a summary of what I just talked about. Systems equals connection plus behavior plus relationships plus adaptation plus rituals. This is a complete system. You need all of these things in order for a system to move the way you want them to. Okay. So let's talk about what a broken system looks like. Okay. So when you're looking at a broken system, the very first thing that you're probably going to see in a system that is broken are bottlenecks. You're going to see bottlenecks. So everything will depend on one person. Work is slow, or slowing down. Every decision will have to go through this one person, and people are going to get frustrated. Okay. Whatever momentum you have is going to die because, like, you have a part of the team that's going, going, going and getting there. And then suddenly you get to that person who needs to approve every decision and it's stuck. There's a bottleneck. The second thing is confusion. Okay. Nobody knows who owns what. The priorities keep shifting. Two people may be doing the same job while other critical tasks are not even being touched. Okay. So in this system, things start to look very messy. Very messy. Now I'm duplicating work, I'm wasting time. I'm losing my mind. Okay. I'm literally losing my mind. Okay. That's what happens in that system. Y'all, I don't know why it keeps on cutting off. I don't know why this keeps doing that, but I'm just gonna keep on pressing the to reshare when it does that. I apologize. The third thing that we have is exclusion. A broken system exclude. They do not want everybody to be full participants. There is an equitable system. people are going to be excluded. So some examples of small voices will dominate, others will never get heard. And then what this does is it kills the creativity and innovation that's waiting to be brought to the surface. And we know that sometimes the best ideas come from some of the quietest people in the room. And trust me, as a fellow introvert, as some of you, um, I spent some time reflecting and really thinking about all the different angles of certain things. And I'm literally sometimes cooking up some ideas, and sometimes those ideas get missed because, you know, people overlook my thoughts, or they don't call on me, or they just exclude me because they think that I don't have nothing to contribute. And I have to say, my ideas sometimes are pretty freaking amazing, right? Just saying, just saying. But in a broken system, there is going to be exclusion. And then the fourth one is rigidity. We're going to be stuck in the status quo. The system is not going to adapt. The world is changing. There's new technology out there, new customer behavior and demands, and just this new reality. But your team isn't operating in a way that's adaptive and moving forward. And so it's keeping you stuck. So now you have people burning out, trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Y'all, we have to be comfortable with adaptation. Okay. So now that I've shared with you what a broken system looks like, let me share what a thriving system looks like. Okay. So, thriving system. What does a thriving system look like? So, the first thing is everyone knows the goals. There's alignment, there's clarity, and people know exactly what success looks like. So, if you see a team that people don't know what the goals are, then it's probably a broken system. Okay. The second thing is there are feedback loops. Okay. And I'm going to be talking about this on some of the other sessions, live videos that's coming soon. So I'm just giving you the foundation here. Okay. Put a comment in the chat if you're still here. Put a comment in the chat if you've seen any of these broken systems on your team or in your organization or other organizations. I want to hear it. I want to know about it. And so the second thing is feedback loops in a thriving system. This builds trust and accountability. People aren't guessing if they're doing well because they know and they grow from it. There's always these feedback loops. They're noticing what's happening. The third thing is power is shared. So there's no I in team. So all of us have equal access to the power. We're all having a seat at the table. Nothing is being hoarded because leadership isn't about control, it's about empowerment. So a system that is thriving is distributing decision making so that things can move faster. They are distributing decision making. And the fourth thing is rituals. You have these consistent on a normal cadence of rituals that are happening, and they're keeping people aligned. There's daily huddles, there's weekly reflections, there people are sharing what their wins are, and these patterns become the heartbeat of the team. Okay. So when you put these two systems side by side, one system, people are burned out, y'all. We're burned out, right? Think about it in the pandemic, how many people burned out because they were still trying to do things the old way, like we were in the office. That did not work. It did not work. But those thriving systems, y'all, we were just like, this is the goal. How you get there is how you get there. I'll give you feedback along the way. If you are closest to the work, you are going to make that decision. And we'll have a weekly ritual so that we can always come together and always be on the same page. This is what happens in a thriving system. So let me pause and let me ask you, which of these do you see in your team right now? Which one of these? Is it bottlenecks? Is it confusion? Is it exclusion? Or is it rigidity? Let me know. Share it in the comments. Let's hear about it. I want to hear about it. I want to see where teams are now post pandemic. Where are you? Okay. All right. So, lastly, I want to give you something, a process that you can use today so you can start building your team's awareness and build the system. So, I'm calling it see it, name it, tweak it. See it, name it, tweak it. That's what we're calling it today is see it, tweak it, name it. Okay. So this is what you're going to first do. You're going to step back And you're going to ask yourself, how is the team actually working? What is the actual reality today? How is the team actually working today? These are facts, data points. Like, what do you see? What do you see happening on the team right now? Not how it's supposed to work, but really how it is right now, how it's flowing day to day. Who talks to who? Where do decisions get stuck? What's happening beneath the surface? So, if I were to, you guys have heard of the iceberg model. I'm trying to see what's down here. What's down here? What's down here? What's really happening? What's really happening down here? That's the goal. That's what I want to know. I want to see it and I want to say what is actually happening. But now that I know what's happening, I want to name it. Okay. So I can name it. Maybe the issue is decision making. There's something with decision making, right? So I want to look at it. I want to call out the breakdowns. I want to be honest about what keeps happening. If it's missed deadlines, maybe it's deadlines. Maybe it's the same conflicts keep happening. Maybe there's turnover, high turnover. Maybe there's low morale. If you cannot name it, you cannot change it. Okay. So if you're saying, I don't know what it is, well, you can't change it because you haven't named it. You don't know what solution you're creating for. Okay. So you need to be able to name it. And the last thing is tweak it. Now, here's the key. You do not want to overhaul everything that is a lot of change for too much at one time. So you want to do small tweaks and so to move things, move the needle, right? So don't try to rebuild the whole system at once. Honestly, we want to get rid of racism, but we have to start tweaking and moving at different places in the system, right? I use racism because it's top of mind for me right now, personally, but so it just came out. But if we were talking about racism, thinking of that, it's like a full systemic thing that's happening. And the way to change that is to have these tweaks in different places. Okay. So we're going to pick and choose. So in this case, maybe it's a new decision making rule. Y'all can't make an arrow. Maybe it's a different decision making. Maybe it's a 10-minute ritual that keeps people aligned. Maybe it's adjusting the feedback or how feedback gets shared. So when you do these small tweaks at the system level, you create ripples, the bigger ripples that we talked about. Okay. And the best part is that team, once you teach your team how to see it, name it, and tweak their own systems, they become self-correcting. So now they can correct without you even having to point it out to them. And that's how you know when you build something that is going to be sustainable. So if we're walking through a real scenario, step one is what you're going to do is let's go for decision making. Okay. So there's decision making happening and there's something that's happening with decision making. So let that be the topic. Okay. And in most teams, decisions flow in a way that creates bottlenecks. Okay. So usually what happens is we have the team, they give it to the manager, and the manager gives it to the CEO. And the CEO becomes a bottleneck because they want to make all the decisions. That's what happens normally. Okay. I've seen it so many times, and you might say, oh, that doesn't happen in my team, but I've seen it so many times that maybe it's not the team manager CEO, but maybe it's the team, the manager, and the finance head, whatever it is. Like usually this is the way it happens. There's a bottleneck somewhere that stops us from moving forward. Okay. It usually works is like a team member will have an idea. So they're like, oh, I have an idea. I have an idea. Right. They're like, I have an idea. This is what we're going to do. Right. And the manager's like, oh, great idea. Let me look at it. Oh, wow. This is nice. Let me take it to the CEO. Take it to the CEO, and the CEO just sits on it, and it just becomes a complete stop because they have so much to do. The CEO is drowning in decisions, big ones, small ones, urgent ones, and even trivial ones that are like, why am I solving this? Right. But because everything depends on them, the projects are going to stall, the people are going to have to wait, momentum just completely stalls, and that's a broken system. Now, if we wanted to create a thriving system and we want to move away from this system, Let's say we have decision making, okay, same topic, and we need to shift the people. I mean, we need to shift in the system what how things are done, how decision making is being handled, right? And so we're not shifting the people. We don't need to rehire other people. We don't need to fire anybody. We need to shape the system differently. We need to shape how decisions get made in this instance, right? So instead of everything bottlenecking at the top, we're going to create some decision lanes. Okay. So for the team, they are going to make team decisions. So in the team decisions is gonna be operational things or day to day. Anything that makes them, if they're closest to the work, this is where you want teams to be. They're closest to the work. Let them do the thing. Okay. Then there's the manager. The manager will make manager decisions. And then these manager decisions is going to be team level. It's going to be maybe some tactical things. They're going to make those decisions. And then the CEO will make CEO decisions, y'all. La la. It's not rocket science. But these type of things are going to be systemic, strategic, or even high level. They don't need to be in the weeds because, again, these people are closest to the work. So they can make those decisions. Okay. So the team members are going to decide the things that affect their day to day work. The managers are going to decide on team level priorities. And the CEO only weighs in on big strategic decisions. Do you see the difference? Suddenly things are going to start to move for you. People are going to move faster. They're going to start feeling trusted. And the CEO is going to be freed up to focus on the vision, on the mission, on the strategy instead of micromanaging all the stuff at the team level. Okay. So here is how that relates to what I shared earlier. You're going to see it, you're going to name it, and you're going to tweak it. You're going to see, map out how decisions actually work. In this case, the team manager, CEO, and the CEO becomes a bottleneck. So that's how decisions work. Then you name it. You say, you notice that the bottleneck is the CEO, and that's where we're going to solve the problem. And then you're going to tweak it. You redesign the system so that power is distributed effectively. Same people, but we've created a different system. So now we have totally different results. This is how you look at systems. This is how you start to fix your system so they become self correcting and sustainable. Okay. That was a lot, y'all. I know I said a lot of stuff. Okay. But again, I said I want to break it down. I want to really show you and I really want you to know exactly the foundation, and I'm going to go into these things as we move forward in the series. But here's what I want you all to remember today. Teams do not fail because of bad people. They fail because there's a broken system. And when you fix the system, you give people more freedom and things start to click. They start to feel empowered. The momentum starts to build and work starts to feel easy again. As a quick, another just last quick example, a team I worked with, they had like the best talent, seriously. Like these were A players, like across the board, but they were constantly stuck. And because they were stuck, the deadlines were getting missed. There was a low morale. The CEO felt like they had to make every single decision. The CEO started saying, well, we're just going to slap a coach in there to help, or we're going to slap somebody in there to fix it, things like that. Like it really did happen like that. But as I started looking at the system, I was like, no, we're not going to replace anyone. We don't need to run another motivation, like rah rah, like let me push you, like hey, right? Because that was one of the myths. Let's do more push and let's incentivize and let's motivate, right? We're not going to do another workshop to motivate. All we did was redesign their decision making system. So team members got clarity on what they owned. Managers handled the tactical things that came through. And the CEO only stepped in on strategic stuff. Like they don't need to be down in the weeds at all. And within a month, everything changed. Like the projects started to move faster. People felt like they were trusted, and the CEO took a breath. They exhaled. And that's the power of fixing the system. Okay. Because it's the thing that can make or break a system, a team every freaking single time. So here's my invitation. If this is hitting home for you and you want help figuring out where your team systems are breaking down, I've opened a few strategy calls this month. And on the call, we'll map out your current system, we'll pinpoint your biggest leaks and identify the exact tweaks that will free you up and free up your team, right? So if you need that, if you want that, click the link in my bios. If you're on LinkedIn, click it on the bio. YouTube, I'm going to edit this and come back and post it with that information, and then Instagram in my bio. And if this was valuable, please send it to others so that we start building the type of teams that we want and that are truly needed. So thank you. That was about an hour long. I thought it was only gonna be 30 minutes. Psych. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you on day two, where we are going to be talking about why great people fail in broken systems. Why do the great people fail in broken systems? All right, talk to you soon. Bye.